First off, we would love to thank you so much for coming and joining us today. We are really excited to have you all here and to hear about the EDC, to hear about Kelowna, the expansion, everything that's happening here, and of course also about the airport and the expansion at the airport. So really exciting, and he can let you talk about food. Starting.
I'll take over. So I'm like, I can't take over. What a good sister. Lunch is ready, so if you want to come and grab a plate, help yourselves, please. The lunch is over here on my left, and grab a meal. And then our first speaker, Krista, is going to be the first in about 15 minutes. Thank you so much.
So I just want to introduce our first speaker. You guys feel free to continue eating. This is a lunch and learn, where we continue to eat while we listen to our speakers so that we can kind of try to fit it all in during lunchtime. So we'll bring up our first speaker, then we'll bring up our next speaker, and then we're going to hold questions until the very end so that we can ask both speakers questions at the same time. But first off, we have Krista Mallory, who is the manager of the Central Okanagan Economic Development Commission. She's a believer in the power of working together. Krista supports Canada's fastest growing metro area by developing and nurturing relationships and connecting newcomers, businesses, and entrepreneurs to community resources and networks. In addition to acting as a connector, Krista leads a team of 7 highly skilled professionals and a 45-member advisory council in advancing workshop development, business retention, and expansion and investment, and talent attractions initiatives. I think I need to put my glasses on to read. I'm like, it's blurry. No, I have to read it all. Krista joined the commission in 2016, and after a decade of experience in the financial sector and nonprofit sector, supporting women entrepreneurs and a loans analyst business advisor. So let's please welcome Krista Mallory from the Economic Development Commissioner.
Hi, good afternoon. I'll load it up here. Okay, so thank you for the warm introduction. As mentioned, my name's Krista Mallory, and I'm with the Central Okanagan Economic Development Commission. When I was asked to speak today, I got really excited and said, sure, I can talk about who the COEDC is. I can talk about some regional data. I can talk about our strat plan that's leading us into the next 5 years. And I can talk about Canada-US trade relations. And then I realized that's a lot of things to cover in 20 minutes here. So I'll move quickly, and as mentioned, we'll have some time for questions at the end with both Geoff and myself, and then we can see if we both have the same answer. And we might. Okay, so as mentioned, I am lucky to lead a team of economic development practitioners here in Kelowna. Our team consists of 5 full-time, 1 part-time staff member, and then 2 part-time contractors who run some of the programs that I'll touch on very briefly later. We are a service of the Regional District of Central Okanagan, and that means we provide economic development services to the entire Central Okanagan, from Lake Country to Peachland, everywhere in between, including West Bank First Nation. So I'll start with what is economic development, because people have very different ideas, and economic development means different things in different communities. The most commonly understood definition is programs, policies, and activities designed to enhance the economic well-being and quality of life within a community. A lot of people equate economic development to job creation, and one thing that I always like to remember is that economic developers or government don't create jobs. Entrepreneurs and businesses create jobs. Our role is to create the environment and supports necessary to let entrepreneurs and business leaders do their things and create the jobs that benefit our community. So what does that look like? We divide our activities into core services. These don't change much year to year. They're kind of our bread and butter, as well as specific initiatives that align with our strategic plan. So our core services include business outreach. Last year, we met with or had in-depth site visits to over, I think it was 167 businesses last year, where we sit down with them. We really understand their needs, what they're doing in the community, and how we can help refer them to others or support them with programs and services. We also act as sort of the connector or the glue in the community that can connect different people in the economic development business world with each other. One way we do that is, as mentioned, we have a 45-person advisory committee. So we report, I saw a couple forks stop there when I heard 45. And we have some of our advisory committee or former advisory committee members with us here today. We report to and are accountable to the Regional District Board, which is made up of elected officials from all the communities we serve. Our advisory committee is in addition to that, and it is a group that meets monthly to discuss topics that are important to the regional economy, whether that be next month we're talking about agriculture and technology in agriculture. Sometimes we might talk about workforce, we might talk about what's happening at the airport, different topics or concerns that help to drive the local economy. And that group is made up of elected officials, community leaders and partners from groups like all the chambers of commerce are represented on that group, UBC Okanagan, Community Futures, Okanagan College, those types of folks, as well as industry leaders from a cross-section of industry. And so the key word there is advisory. The group doesn't make decisions, or else I don't know where we probably wouldn't get very far because it's too big for that. And then the last area that I just wanted to mention of our core services is data. So we are a trusted resource for economic climate information for businesses in the community and our community partners. And we share that in a multiple of ways. One of the areas where we focus our attention is workforce development. We know that a strong workforce is increasingly the most important thing for businesses to be successful and when businesses are considering their investment decisions. So one program is called the Okanagan Young Professionals Collective. It was started 10 years ago when the region looked very different. Census at that time had told us we were the oldest region in Canada. And so we looked around and said, how can we help create a culture that supports the attraction and retention of young professionals? That program has looked very different over the years, from being mostly hosting events to communications. Right now, this year we host monthly coffee socials. So last year we had over 500 young professionals out to our monthly coffee socials. So if you know someone who's young, who self-identifies as young and or professional, then they are welcome to attend. And it's a great way to get connected to the community. And you can also follow that group on social media for other events that are happening for young professionals in the region. Another program that I want to mention is called the Connector Program, and this is run by one of our contractors. And this program was developed in about 2017 when we heard from our largest private sector employer that they were attracting highly skilled, specialized employees from outside the region. But if that person's spouse or partner couldn't find a job here, we would lose both of them from our community. So this program connects newcomers who are looking for employment with well-connected connectors in the community. They meet for coffee, provide an introduction to 3 more people from their network, and so on. So it was designed for the reason I mentioned earlier, but it's open to any newcomer to the community, recent immigrant, student, young professional who's looking to connect to professional networks. We always hear that it's all about who you know in the Okanagan to find a job. So this is a way that we can help newcomers know the right people. Something that happens naturally, but really hard to break into if you're brand new. So if you know someone who's new to the community and looking to get connected and then looking for employment, please refer them to this program. And if you are a connector in the program, a well-networked person in the community, we'd love to have you as a connector. It's a great way to give back. And we don't ask too much. Another program I wanted to highlight is another area of work is we work to promote the region, both across Canada and internationally. And one way that we do that is through a program called OK Go. And this is where we work together with Tourism Kelowna, Accelerate Okanagan, UBC Okanagan, and Okanagan College to pool all of our collective resources to highlight the region and all the good things that are happening in key economic sectors, which are manufacturing, aerospace, agriculture, viticulture or wine, clean technology, and digital technology. And the goal of that campaign is to promote the region in those industry sectors as a place to make an investment, start a business, live, work, or host a business event or conference. And we do this through digital marketing. Last year we had over 2 million eyeballs on videos about our region internationally and in select in-person events and trade shows. So you can find out about that at okgo.ca. And the last resource about us that I wanted to share is our data portal. I mentioned earlier that we collect and share a lot of economic climate information. One way is this portal that looks like this on our website. It is constantly updated by AI and has all the economic and demographic info that you could want to know about the region. And it's visually displayed and can be manipulated visually. And you can also pull custom reports from that resource. So if you're looking for information about the region, that's the place to go. If you're looking there and you still can't find it, contact our team and we'll tell you whether it exists or not. We do a whole bunch more things than that, but those were just a couple that I wanted to highlight today. So now let's get into some of that data. The information that I'm going to share with you today is a mixture of census information. Census information is the gold standard because it counts what's actually happening, but it's only done every 5 years. So the last census was 2021. Lots has changed since then. So I'll also use some BC Stats estimates. So that's why you'll see slightly different numbers. Anything that's newer than 2021 is a BC Stats estimate. But I'm sure that you've heard the messaging before and you've probably seen it. We were the Central Okanagan, and I'll use Central Okanagan and Kelowna Census Metropolitan Area, or CMA, interchangeably. They mean the same thing from a stats perspective. But we were the fastest growing metro area in Canada as of the last census. So 14% growth from 2016 to 2021, which is really significant. When you look at Toronto, grew 4.6%, Calgary grew 6.4%, so we were well exceeding other areas in growth. And this again is a BC Stats estimate. That trend has continued through 2023, which is the most recent numbers that we have there with continued growth. The regional district did population projections last year, and what we know from that is that we anticipate that the region will grow from an additional 50,000 to 126,000 new residents by 2046. So we have 3 scenarios here that depend on a whole bunch of different things, because when you're making those long-range predictions, as we know, a whole bunch of things can change, and a whole bunch of things have changed since last week. But I think what's important, the fastest growth scenario points to a regional population of 373,000 people 20 years from now. And I think what's important, the way that I like to think about this is we don't know exactly how that is going to play out, but we do know we're going to reach that population sooner or later. It might be a little sooner, it might be a little later, but that is the growth track that the region is on and is planning for and needs to plan for. Now, what's really interesting to me isn't just the growth in peer numbers, but how that growth has changed and how our demographics has changed. And what's driving that growth. So I mentioned earlier that 10 years ago, or a little bit, 10, 15 years ago, the Kelowna CMA was the oldest census metropolitan area in Canada. And we're traditionally thought of as a retirement destination and certainly still have that reputation in many parts of Canada. However, when you look at the top bars of this chart here, that is growth rates of seniors. So over 65 is the definition here. So this is the baby boomers and the largest age cohort. And as that cohort grows, we're seeing major growth in the senior demographic across Canada and globally. So, how many people in this room turned 65 over the last 5 years? Just kidding. You don't have to answer that. But we're certainly seeing that. And this has major impacts to workforce, healthcare, all these sorts of things that are really important to economic development. People who are turning 65 and better are hoping to retire, and we need other people to be taking that job. And then if we're also looking for economic growth, that's additional jobs that are workforce that we need in our community. So if we look at the last census, the population 65 years and older in Calgary grew by 30%. In our region, it grew by 20%, which is about in line with the national and provincial average. What's really interesting is the working age population, so 15 to 64-year-olds. Although I have an 11-year-old and I don't think I'm going to count him in the working age population in 4 years. He's got a lot of work to do. But that working age population in the Kelowna CMA grew by 12.6%. And in Calgary, Toronto was around 3 to 3.7%. Vancouver and Victoria, which were BC's leading growth in this age demographic, were at about 5%. So we're more than double what Vancouver saw in growth of those working age population. Same with growth in the number of children under 14. So this is really interesting, 11% increase in the Kelowna CMA. And then I think we can take Toronto as a cautionary tale where they actually saw a decline in the number of children by 2%. So as we look forward and into the future, these are the areas that we're really paying attention to and want to make sure we keep that momentum up. And actually, since 2016, our region has seen a steady decline in the median age versus an aging population nationally. So what we know from other research is that, fortunately, that's due to younger people moving here, not older people not living as long. So we see this as really positive as that younger, from a workforce perspective, as that age group, that median age declines. And then we've seen the same thing in the past couple years when we look at 2019 to 2023 data. The only region out of comparable regions that saw a stronger workforce age demographic growth from 2019 to 2023, again based on estimates, was the Kitchener-Waterloo area, which we know is a hub for tech sector growth. The last piece of information that I want to share with you is another promising growth rate, and that's businesses by employee size. You'll see that the Kelowna CMA has outperformed in every category of number of business growth. But what's really interesting to me is the businesses with 20 to 49 employees. So that's this chart here. Traditionally, I don't know if you can see it over there, but traditionally this region has had a lot of very small companies. And that's fantastic. And those companies are the backbone of our economy and the entrepreneurial spirit that the region's known for. But businesses with 1 or 2 or 3 employees aren't the businesses that are hiring new graduates out of UBC Okanagan often, because they don't have the resources to train or those type of jobs to train. So this businesses with 20 to 49 employees, that's really a growth rate business. Those are businesses that are investing, they're maybe looking for bigger locations, they're hiring employees. So this is a trend that we're really encouraged by and want to see continued. Now, these are some of our economic indicators. These were the ones that were released in Q4 of 2024. We're just wrapping up Q1 of 2025 now, and we'll have that data available soon. So far, we're seeing really encouraging numbers from the tourism sector, and Geoff can tell us more about that, I'm sure, as far about air travel. The labor force survey, which is where the unemployment rate comes from, in March showed unemployment in the region up slightly at 5.6%, but that's still considered a healthy unemployment rate. And we'll continue to monitor that with the impact of tariffs and the global turmoil that we're seeing right now. But the message from these indicators are that we're entering this period on a really solid footing as a region. Okay, so with that, I want to look at how we can build on the momentum that we've seen in the last 10 years and carry that through. So the COEDC has just launched a new strategic plan. It's titled the Roadmap to Resiliency. Our last strategic plan was developed and launched in January of 2020. So I'm looking at David McDougall, who I think was our chair at the time. Yeah, so most auspicious time to launch a strategic plan, and now we're sort of in the similar situation. But when looking back at the last 5 years of our previous strategic plan, we've seen fires, we've seen floods, we've seen pandemics, and now we're seeing trade wars. So a lot of headwinds to our regional economy, and we know that we can't, as a Economic Development Commission, we can't protect our regional economy and prevent these type of economic shocks. But what we can do, and what our focus is to better prepare our businesses and our region and our workforce to be resilient in the face of whatever might be coming our way next. So with extensive community consultation and research, we worked with Deloitte to create 4 strategic directions, and those are to drive economic resilience, build a skilled workforce, promote innovation, and grow export-focused industries. These are high level, and then there's actions that happen under each of those that are developed through annual operational planning. And we recognize that these will likely, they may need to shift. Some directions might take a front seat while others take a back seat, depending on the economic situation of the day. But the first direction is to drive economic resilience, and that is to support businesses in adapting to a changing landscape. So through our advisory committee, this was actually the number 1 priority in multiple consultation sessions, which really underscores its significance and urgency. Some short-term actions we'll be working on in this regard are to help businesses with emergency preparedness and business continuity planning, because while our attention right now is really taken up with the politics around U.S.-Canada trade, we know that our region is susceptible to major fires and other events that we need to be prepared for. Longer term perspective, our focus is on how do we make the regional economy more fundamentally resilient. The next direction is to build a skilled workforce. This has consistently emerged through background research and community engagement as a top priority for most business sectors. As I said earlier, we've seen some really encouraging demographic shifts, but we need to keep that momentum up in the face of headwinds like housing costs and overall cost of living that are present. And the third direction is to promote innovation. And I think it's important to note here, we're not talking about innovation for innovation's sake. It's to promote innovation to boost labor productivity and resource efficiency. Boosting productivity is one important component to promoting wage growth in the region, and this is an area where we know there's opportunity for improvement. And the last strategic direction is to grow export-focused industries. And the goal here is to strengthen our export base by attracting high-value companies, supporting market expansion, and building regional supply chains. And the emphasis on export-focused industries isn't at the expense of other businesses who may be small businesses who don't export. But it's important to note that export-focused businesses are bringing money into our regional economy that support the growth of all businesses in the economy. And it's also important to note that when we talk about export-focused businesses, we're not just talking about businesses that export to the US or export to China. We're talking about businesses that maybe export to Kamloops. So it's a whole picture there. And so it focuses both on the attraction of high-value companies and on supporting our homegrown exporters. So with that, I will turn our attention to from our strategic directions to the issue of the day. As we all know, the U.S. government has taken a protectionary stance with the implementation of tariffs, starting with Canada, Mexico, and China, and now globally at different rates across the country. We're often asked, what's the economic impact to the Central Okanagan? And that is a really complex question. Many businesses haven't fully figured out what the economic impact to their individual business will be yet. We know some businesses and industries will be harder hit, particularly those that are very export or import dependent. But we know the impacts will reach all of us. When talking to businesses, the uncertainty is certainly the biggest challenge. As we talked earlier, with all of the things that businesses have had to be resilient in the face of, our businesses are resilient and they can plan for challenges, but it's really hard to do when the goalpost is moving day by day. And we know we're not dealing in predictability. Tariffs could go forward, they could be canceled, they could be delayed, and they could look different than what proposed. But whatever the actual changes are, the signal is that our largest trading partner is thinking differently about trade and that we need to react to that. So at the Economic Development Commission, we're directing our resources to work that going forward will be useful and supports businesses wherever this lands exactly over time. And I like to categorize that work in two buckets. One is connecting directly with businesses to really understand what their needs are, offer our support, help connect them to resources. And then the other bucket is creating resources and supports that businesses need both now and into the long term. So we've created very quickly a resource page on our website that has up-to-date and trusted information. So if you go to our website, investkelowna.com, there's a pop-up that will take you right to that page. And then we're also working in our strategic plan under the Grow Export Focused Industries pillar. There was a action identified to work on tools to make our regional supply chain more resilient. So help local manufacturers connect to other local manufacturers and bring some of that supply chain back home. We plan to do that next year or the year after when we're brought that work forward. So we're developing a tool for manufacturers to connect with other manufacturers in the region. An example I like to think of is one company locally a few years ago was looking for somebody to make a gas tank for a recreational vehicle that they were making. And if you go on Google and say Okanagan manufacturers of gas tanks for recreational vehicles, you're not going to find it. But through connections in the industry, they were actually able to find another manufacturer who made gas tanks for large industrial uses. But they could certainly make the one that the other one was looking for, but it just took somebody who knew both businesses and understood the industry to connect the two. So that's the kind of connections that we're making with this tool. And then going forward, we're working to help businesses with further education or information around procurement is a big thing that businesses are asking for, and navigating complex export regulations, as well as programs to help businesses to diversify to other markets and take advantage of other trade treaties that we have in place in Europe or the Indo-Pacific. So with that, I will conclude, and I will invite Geoff Ritchie up, or we'll do a transition, and then we'll do questions at the end. Thank you.
If I can have you both come up here, please, and we'll thank you again. And we'll have, just quickly, because I know some of you have to get back to work, we'll just see if anyone has any questions, please. Just raise your hand. Jeff, thank you very much. You're welcome. And Krista, thank you.
Thank you.
A little token of our appreciation, so thank you very much. Any questions? No, we can, I don't have another mic. I should have done that, but yes, you can stand up and maybe speak loudly.
Thank you very much for this impressive presentation, both. Right. Now my question, more retired related, when will be seeing direct flight to Europe? It's in the talk since 50 years, I think, but it's never happened so far. And now with the US, maybe more important.
So it's a difficult piece because of what we talked about. You need to be able to fill an airplane both ways to be able to do that. And you need an airplane that's got the right range and the right destination. I'm talking about that all the time. My air service team discuss that every month with all sorts of folks. I can't say anything except maybe you should look at the summer 26 schedule.
You heard it here first.
When it comes out.
That sounds very exciting, and that's pretty soon, so. Yes, Saul, you can stand up.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. Thank you. It seems like there's a convergence of trends that favor a younger professional demographic, and we're kind of isolated geographically in terms of industrial transportation. So it seems that, you know, software as a service for digital nomads.
Yep.
Coming here to enjoy quality of life, where they don't have to buy a big house, and the support structure for that in education would be promoting education towards software, high-tech, AI, create a hub and a support structure where these people could come and find a place to work and network with each other. So is that in the ballpark?
It's a great idea. So I think there's a lot of things that would be supporting that concept. So the region has a quite significant amount of co-working spaces, and certainly through COVID, we did see. I don't know numbers, but a great number of people who've moved here who are working elsewhere, the digital nomads type. So we did see that for sure. And then the other piece you talked about was at the university and training. And that is an area that UBC Okanagan is really diving into with a new school of computing that'll bring in a lot of different pieces in that area together. So I think, a lot more opportunity, and the pieces are in place.
So we have one last thing to do. Woohoo! This is the really fun part. So we get to give away a trip. We're giving away a travel voucher. So for anyone that referred us business this past year, we do this every year, we give away a travel voucher. And this is $3,000 that you can use however you want to travel wherever you want to. And we appreciate that everybody that has referred us, that continues to refer us. It's a big part of our business, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you. And you do the draw?
Nope, I stirred, so you draw.
Oh, okay. Older sister, I can't say no to her.
Just take one.
Okay. Oh, this is so cool. Okay, so Cal and Carol Warren. There, yes.
Awesome.
Yay!
That's nice.
Cal, get up here. Good try.
You guys, this is wonderful. Thank you when my rentals are done.
Oh yeah,
We'll do a quick group photo.
Do you want to even do it after? We'll do it after. Yep, take that.
Thank you. We've commanded enough of your time, so thank you so much for coming today. Please do help yourself if you'd like on your way out. We've got some desserts left on the table, so please feel free to grab a little something sweet before you head out. And thank you again so much for joining us.